Tonight, somewhere in a stadium holding 80,000 people, a man will jog onto a pitch, and the entire crowd will rise to their feet before he's even touched the ball. You've seen the goals, you've seen the trophies, you've seen the celebrations. But there is a version of this story that almost nobody knows. A version that was quietly buried under highlight reels and transfer fees and magazine covers. And once you hear it, you will never look at Cristiano Ronaldo the same way again. This video is about the real backstory, the parts that were kept from the public, not the myth, the actual human being underneath it. Most people think Ronaldo's story is about talent. A gifted kid from Madeira who got lucky, got spotted, got rich. That's the version they sell you. The real version is something else entirely. It's about obsession that started before anyone gave him permission, decisions that nearly never happened, and a level of sacrifice that most people would find genuinely uncomfortable to hear about. We're going to go through 10 things, buried facts, stories that never made the mainstream, and by the end, I promise you, reality is going to exceed whatever expectations you walked in here with. Let's start with the money, because the money tells you everything. His first club was a tiny outfit called Madeira. They sold him to Nacional for a fee so small it's almost embarrassing to say out loud. Nacional then sold him to Sporting CP for $15,000. Real Madrid later paid $80 million for the same human being. Now think about that markup for a second. The same player, the same legs, the same brain. Someone looked at him and said $15,000. Someone else looked at him and said $80 million. That gap, that incomprehensible gap, is the entire story of what Ronaldo built in between. But here's what makes it even more interesting. The people at Sporting CP, the ones who paid $15,000 for him, they actually tried to slow him down. Sporting had a strict academy policy. No gym work for young players. Let the kids grow naturally. Don't interfere with physical development. It was considered best practice. Ronaldo ignored it completely. He started sneaking out at night to lift weights in the gym. Not occasionally, consistently, systematically, until the coaches found out and put a padlock on the gym door. So he grabbed buckets of water from the showers and used those to do squats instead. They took the buckets away too. So he strapped weights to his ankles and started racing cars on the streets near the training ground to build explosive power in his legs. This is important because this is not a story about a talented kid who got discovered. This is a story about someone who was actively being restricted and kept finding another way. The obsession didn't start when he got famous. It started in secret, in the dark, before anyone was watching. But if you think that's the most revealing thing about his early life, at age 14, Ronaldo was expelled. Not for skipping class, not for being late, for throwing a chair at a teacher who had reportedly disrespected him. That expulsion pushed him full-time into football. And here's the part that should stop you cold. If that teacher never said whatever he said, if Ronaldo never threw that chair, if the school never expelled him, he might have stayed in education. The path might have closed. The story might have ended right there in a classroom in Madeira. One moment of disrespect, one chair, and the entire trajectory of football history shifts. That's important. But if you don't also know what almost happened next, you're missing half the story, because Ronaldo very nearly became an Arsenal player. He and his mother actually visited Arsenal's training ground. They met Thierry Henry. Arsène Wenger personally handed him an Arsenal shirt. The transfer was moving forward at around $8 million. It looked close to done. Then his agent, Jorge Mendes, disappeared. He reappeared later with a message for Wenger. He'd agreed a deal with Sir Alex Ferguson instead. Wenger never forgave him. Under Wenger, Arsenal became one of the clubs that deliberately avoided signing any of Mendes's clients as a matter of policy. That's how deep the betrayal cut. Liverpool's manager, Gerard Houllier, had been in separate discussions about Ronaldo through a different agent entirely. When he heard the final fee that Manchester United paid, $12 million, he was reportedly so shocked he nearly choked on his food. Liverpool had a genuine chance. They walked away from it. Arsenal had a genuine chance. Their manager was left holding an unsigned shirt. Two of the biggest clubs in England, both of them this close. And it all came down to one halftime message. Here's what actually happened at that Manchester United versus Sporting CP friendly in 2003. Before the match even kicked off, Ferguson and Mendes had already agreed that Ronaldo would go on loan back to Sporting for a year. That was the plan. Settled. Done. Then the game started. Ronaldo was so impressive that at halftime, Ferguson sent a message to Chief Executive Peter Kenyon. The kid comes with us now. No loan. No waiting. But here's the detail that almost never gets told. Money wasn't what closed the deal. Ferguson did something he almost never did. He personally promised Ronaldo game time. Not a squad number, not a salary, a personal promise from the manager that he would actually play. That promise sealed it. Not the contract, not the fee. A man's word. Speaking of squad numbers, when Ronaldo arrived at Manchester United, he asked for the number 28 shirt. Same number he wore at Sporting CP. Comfortable, familiar, safe. Instead, they gave him the number 7, the shirt worn by George Best, by Eric Cantona, by David Beckham. He had no idea what that number would come to mean. No idea of the weight of it. No idea that one day the number 7 and the name Ronaldo would be completely inseparable in the minds of a billion people. He just wanted 28. Now, this is where the story shifts. Because everything so far has been about football. But the next part is about who Ronaldo actually is as a human being. And I think this is the most important thing in this entire video. In 2011, his Portugal teammate, Carlos Martins, revealed that his son had been diagnosed with leukemia. The boy needed regular blood and bone marrow transfusions. Ronaldo stepped forward immediately. No cameras, no press release. He would donate. And then, he made a decision that he has kept quietly for over a decade. He has never gotten a tattoo. Not because he doesn't like them. Because getting a tattoo requires a 4-month waiting period before you can donate blood again. And Ronaldo refuses to let anything interrupt his ability to donate. Every time you see that clean skin on his arms, that's not a style choice. That's a standing commitment to a sick child that turned into a permanent lifestyle. Nobody told him to do this. No sponsorship required it. No PR team suggested it. He just decided, and then he kept deciding. Every single day, for years. That's who he is when nobody is filming. And that connects directly to something his own coach revealed not long ago. Luis Castro, who coached Ronaldo at Al Nassr, gave an interview with Sky Sports. And he was asked the question everyone always asks. What's the real secret? He called it invisible training, not the sessions on the pitch, not the gym footage that ends up on Instagram, the deeply ingrained routines that happen before and after every single session. The things nobody sees, the things nobody films, the recovery protocols, the preparation rituals, the habits so embedded they've become automatic. Castro said the highlight reel is just the surface. The real work is invisible. Think about that in the context of everything else we've talked about. The kids sneaking into the gym at night, the buckets of water, the ankle weights, the car racing. The invisible work started before anyone was watching, and it never stopped. And maybe that explains the nickname. When Ronaldo was a child, his teammates called him Crybaby, not because he was soft, not because he couldn't handle pressure, because he would get intensely emotional, visibly upset, whenever he passed the ball to a teammate and they did nothing with it. The wasted opportunity destroyed him. The lack of precision, the failure to execute, the same perfectionism that made him almost impossible to play with as a child became the engine that drove him to 900 goals. The crybaby and the GOAT are the same person. The trait never changed. It just found a bigger stage. So let's pull back and look at what we actually have here. A player sold for $15,000 who became an 80 million world record. An academy that padlocked its gym and watched him use buckets of water instead. A school expulsion that accidentally launched a career. Arsenal and Liverpool, both within reach of signing him, and both walking away empty-handed. A halftime message that changed the plan. A number 7 shirt he never asked for. A promise from Ferguson that meant more than any contract. Clean arms that tell a quiet story about a sick child. Invisible work that started in secret and never stopped. And a crybaby whose perfectionism turned into 900 goals. None of these things fit the myth. All of them are more interesting than the myth. The public version of Ronaldo is a brand, polished, marketed, enormous. The real version is a kid who raced cars to build leg power because someone took his buckets away. A man who made a silent promise to a dying child and has kept it every single day since. Someone who heard the word no and treated it as a suggestion. Reality exceeded expectations. It always does when you look closely enough. If this kind of deep dive is what you're here for, the real stories behind the names everyone thinks they know, then subscribe right now, because this channel goes places the highlight reels don't. And drop a comment below. I want to know which one of these facts hit you hardest. The buckets, the tattoos, the chair, because I genuinely want to know what landed.